Okay, let me introduce to you Jens Richter, partner of Estudio Herreros.
And Juan Herreros.
Hello, everyone. It's our pleasure to talk about this building that is finally completed. We are Estudio Herreros, an architectural practice based in Madrid. That accumulates 35 years of history of Spanish architecture. We have been involved in many projects in the country, especially in the transition of the arriving of the democracy. And now we have a number of projects out of Spain, in Korea del Sur, Latin America, France, Norway, Morocco. And we are also involved in teaching in many universities around the world. I have been teaching 40 years, more or less, and quite involved in American Academy and also in the Spanish universities. Just to let the audience to know and to understand what the Munch Museum is, I think that the first is just to do a quick description of its physical configuration and organization, just to let you imagine how it's organized.
Okay, so as you can see, Munch is built into the Oslo fjord. So we are surrounded here by the fjord waters on three sides of the building. The new Munch is organized in two very visible parts. It's the podium and the tower. The tower has 13 floors and is about 58 meters high. And the tower is organized basically in two parts. The first one is what we call the static museum. This area is holding all the exhibition galleries, 11 exhibition galleries in total, the workshop areas and the storage facilities, and the dynamic museum where we are standing right now. This is the area where the public is circulating up and down, and which is connecting the collection of Edvard Munch with the city of Oslo. On the top, we have a fantastic view platform and top floor restaurant, which is accessible for everybody.
The conceptual approach to this project is based in two main ideas. No? The one is to be conscious that we are building the house for the work of Edvard Munch, the most important and prominent artist in the history of the country. So this is not only an archive, this is not only an exhibition, a collection of exhibition spaces, it's more like a symbol of the history of Norway. And as we used to describe, it's a compression of the past, the present, and the future. And that's the reason why the first argument in its design is related to the construction of this vertical symbol, no, that can be seen, that can orientate the people in the city, and that can represent a kind of collective dream. No? The second is a transformation of the typology of the museums, as we have been done before. These spectacular buildings that are quite focused in a kind of global image, but not thinking that much in the local communities. No? So of course this is a building, a thought for that international perception and the international sprout of the city of Oslo and the country of Norway, but is also with the same intensity understood in creating here a kind of social hub of the citizens of Oslo. No? And that's why in that lobby that Jens has described in the podium, we have all the programs that are mainly used by the people of the city: the auditorium, the cinema, the library, the education center, the research center, the restaurant, the bar, no, the shop. So it's like saying the citizens are first. So this is not the typical museum where all these activities are in hidden places or strange circulations. No? It's really before that, and make the lobby work like a public square with small buildings. No? Each of these activities is like a small square with all these public facilities. No? And that's also the dynamic museum, or the dynamic part of the museum, that is the circulation system, is going up through all the west facade. No? That means that the people moving up will have a perception of the city. They will establish a relation with the city of Oslo. This is again a super intentional action of design in terms of relating constantly the building with its surroundings. No? So each time you enter a room and you go out, you have a new landscape. You have a new landscape that informs you about a new layer of the history of the city, from the big import till the mountains that in the 21st century we are convinced that we have to preserve. No? It's important for us that this symbol and this vertical museum is based in the idea of giving this presence to a public building that is at the same time a cultural institution. So in the history of Oslo, there are one more public building that is an institution, is the town hall, no? That is a high-rise building, very polemical at that time, by the way. No? So we thought that was super attractive to have these two high-rise buildings preceding their base and having a kind of conversation that we can see here. No? And this is also the argument to defend, one of the arguments to defend the verticality of the building, but it's not the only one. No? Doing a vertical museum, we reduce the footprint of the building, we liberate a lot of public space around. We have all these small piazzas, beach, platforms, sand decks that can be incorporated to the everyday life of the city, of the surroundings. No? And secondly, it's a logistic strategy. You know? Having this verticality, we can create two buildings, one inside the other. The one is the building of the visitors, the other is the building of the employees of the Munch Museum that have their own circuit, their own elevators, and this big lift that is connecting all the floors, making it super easy to change paintings, to attend the restoration department, or to be connected with the loading dock in the basement. But all this is also under the umbrella of understanding that a museum is not only a place to show the paintings. This museum is not only to show the paintings by Edvard Munch. It's a museum of many other things. It's a museum of social encounters. It's a museum also of sustainability. Understanding that both social encounters and sustainability are those of the most important concerns we have today. In terms of sustainability, the idea of building a model, building an exemplary case of sensitivity towards climate change equations is part of this message. No? It's part of transmitting the idea that we can't do any more buildings that are not attending this problematic situation we are dealing with, and wants to be visible and wants to be part of the ideology and the program of the building. No? And Jens will give us some of the clues of this chapter.
Okay, we are extremely proud and very happy that we are with this building part of the future build family. The client has gladly decided to make this building participate in the program. That made us think of the whole construction process of this house as a kind of laboratory of advanced construction techniques that all should contribute to this new idea of sustainability. Actually, the museum should become a kind of device to communicate and to exhibit these ideas of sustainability that today are so important for us in our society all over the world. So, as mentioned before, the museum was built or is built into the water. It is resting on over 300 piles that are going 40 meters down into the fjord. But not only this, the museum was built, the part of the concrete body of the tower was built in only 33 days, erected in a so-called slip form. That's a Norwegian technology that was developed for the construction of oil platforms originally. And also we have managed not only with the construction or during the construction of this house, but also during the running and the maintenance of the house to reduce greenhouse emissions by 50%. This is made possible through the use of recycled materials. For example, this emblematic outer facade skin is made of recycled aluminium, but also the use of low-emission, carbon low-emission concrete and other recycled material as the main steel structure that we see here behind us.
There is something quite important in this question of the incorporation of sustainability to the design process and the construction of the building, and it's how the 12 years that we have invested in the design and build the venue, the avant-garde ideas about these topics have been changed, and we had to change. We had to change also the project as the time was passing, because we couldn't be today opening a building of 12 years ago. No? 12 years ago, we could do some things that today are not acceptable. No? And in that terms, we have to accept many of these changes. No? For example, in the case of the facade, 12 years ago, we could win this competition with a translucent facade. No? That facade, a few years after, was totally unacceptable in terms of heating, earning of the building. No? So we had to choose for a kind of compromise. No? And in the discourse of the beginning was the building will have these translucent materials that will react to the atmospherical conditions of the fjord. Today we say the interior of the dynamic part is reacting to the conditions of the outside, and we can see this space changing the light, changing the color, and changing the intensity of the landscape outside, thanks to this perforated recycled aluminum. No? But I could say, if today we were opening a building with a completely translucent or transparent facade, we foresee would be object of very, very hard critics from the people that are defending the environmental perform of buildings. No? In the same way, when we won the competition, the sustainability that we were proposing, and that was very well appreciated by the jury, was including a more mechanical concept of the fighting against sustainability, environmental problems. But today, it's the passive house, the one that has been incorporated to the building. So it's the building in itself, its materiality, its isolation materials, and the glazing. So it is working fundamentally to get the building alive and to have the building in a good performance in terms of not earning too much heat. And that means also that this detechnification is part of the philosophy of the moment. No? So we are now at the avant-garde of that, because we have assumed that responsibility of keeping the building all the time during all these 12 years at the limit of the moment, as Norway has tried to do with the different regulations, with the launching of the Future Build program and many others. No? What you try to do is to be at the edge of these sensitivities, and we want to be with our building there too. No?
Passive sun protection to prevent from overheating during the hot summer month, the usage of the energy of the fjord water, and also natural ventilation made possible through these architectonical spaces, separating the circulation from the exhibition rooms, is making this possible and transforming this house as a reference for future build.